Hello and welcome to the Nerd Man. This week I am going to be talking about maybe a little controversial for some people, but I'm definitely passionate about it, is Microsoft, Google, and Apple, and what I think about them. So like I said, this week I'm going to be talking about Microsoft, Google, and Apple, and it's basically going to be Microsoft versus Google versus Apple, that sort of a mentality. I'm going to tell you what I think about them, but I'm going to tell you right now I'm a PC guy, and if you're an Apple person, you're probably not going to like this conversation, but go ahead and listen, and you can tell me your opinions in the comments below. So I'm going to start off with sort of my history with computers and stuff. I had, and I think one of the first computers I had was like an Apple IIe or something like that, or whatever they were called. Floppy disk, the five and a quarter inch or whatever they were, floppy disk type computer. I'm not even sure if that was really an Apple computer or whatever, because I remember it using DOS. So I mean, whatever. Either way, I upgraded over time. We went into Windows 3.1, moving up through all the iterations over time. And I've dabbled, some in some Apple OSs in the past, not recently, but I never really liked Apple that much. And one of the biggest reasons why I don't like Apple, and you're going to come across this probably several times in this conversation, is Apple is a tyrant king when it comes to allowing you to do anything with any of their products or anything. They will not let you tinker very much and that sort of stuff, including the OSs. You can't get into the guts of it. And now I know some people might say, well, maybe you can't as much with Windows either, but you can. I mean, there is Linux and stuff, but I've never really worked with Linux before, so I'm not going to be able to comment on that very much. But so right now I'm talking mostly about Windows versus Apple's OS, or Microsoft Windows, but there is also Google Chrome OS or Chrome OS or whatever. I don't think Chrome is, let me put it this, I do like Chrome and I like what it does as a full-fledged if you don't know what OS means, it means operating system. It's basically Windows and whatever Apple has at the time. I don't even know what theirs is called right now. But Chrome is Google's OS. And basically as an OS or an operating system, I don't think Chrome is that great. I would never probably get a computer that just has that. I love Chrome, and Chrome is my preferred browser when I'm using Windows and stuff. I love Google for everything it does, but excuse me. I guess what I'm saying overall, I really like Windows because I can kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. So I would definitely say Windows has always been a staple of mine, and I guess from there I'm going to kind of segue into phones as well. So obviously I'm jumping ahead in the timeline. I mean, I said way back, I'm talking about 5.25-inch floppy disks and stuff, and now I'm jumping up to phones, but actually I'm going to give you a brief history on my phone. So I got my first cell phone when I was 16, I believe, and I bought it with my own money, and back then, there was no operating system things. However, as time went on, they began to release what sort of like the PDA things and stuff. I actually was a very sort of early adopter in a sense with what we would call a smartphone today, but I had a Windows phone essentially back then before there was the current version of a Windows phone. They were pretty much like a smartphone, but they had a Windows, I can't even remember what the operating system was called, but it was like Windows CE or something like that. It was a very sort of dumbed down Windows operating system, and you could go on the internet and things with it. And it had a screen. This is like pre iPhone and all that stuff. So the funny thing is I had larger ones like they are today, and they slowly got smaller and smaller until I was like, oh, I like the bigger ones. And then it was funny because then smartphones came out with like the iPhone and everything. I never got an iPhone. Um, I never had one myself, but when I got married, my wife had a iPod, and I tried that for a little while. I would drive around at work. I had a job where I drove around, so I took that with my music so I could listen to my own music in the car instead of the radio. I had so many problems with that iPod. I'm gonna take a little tangent here and tell you another terrible tale of Apple in my life. I had a terrible time with that iPod. I put my music on it. I had several times where it deleted music, where I lost stuff. When I synced it up, it wouldn't sync right, or it would delete things, and it became a giant headache. And I have now known several people who have had the same problems, where Apple just decides they don't want you to have that song anymore, and they wipe it off your computer even. So actually, Apple got in trouble because they basically fessed up to this at one point in time and said that basically if they didn't determine you purchased a song on iTunes, that you must have gotten it illegally or something along the lines of this, and they wiped out your music. So they got in a little bit of trouble for that one. But that pretty much cemented me, and I don't want an iPhone. I was intrigued by the idea of an iPhone because I had that Windows clunky smartphone thing back then. But I think for briefly I switched back over to sort of a flip phone type thing because those Windows phones were not doing what I wanted them to do much anymore. But then Android came out, and I saw the Droid X, I believe it was, and I wanted to get that. I liked Google enough at the time, but this is more in its infancy, and I got one of those, and I've never gone back. I love the Android operating system for the phones. I think it's great, and I know they're, realistically, between the phone softwares, there's not a whole lot of huge difference. They all kind of do sort of the same thing. I don't think the same can be fully said about Windows versus Apple's computer OSs. I think there is definitely larger differences there, but again, the accessibility of Android was great compared to iPhone. You don't have to plug it in and basically go through iTunes for everything. You can plug it right into your computer. I can put files onto my phone. I can do whatever I want with it, essentially. Now, I've never gone into the point of rooting my phones or anything. I never really wanted to go down that line, but I know you can do that with iPhones and stuff too. But it's just I really like the phones. What Android has done, I really like. Basically, yeah, I mean, Google is one of my favorite companies at this point, probably above Microsoft even. So I still love Windows, and I guess what I'm going to talk about there too with my whole, I'm going to jump back and forth here. I'm going back to computers. What I like to be able to alter things if I need to, get into system files and stuff if I need to change stuff around. All that stuff is much harder to do on Apples. I love to be able to upgrade and fix my own stuff or troubleshoot it if I want to. I would say I'm an above average PC user, and you just can't do that stuff with an Apple. I've had a friend who has been with Apple for all his life. He loves Apple, swears by Apple. We don't get along. We pretty much don't talk about this subject. So, but he's had several of his computers just break down and whatever over the years, and he just can't do anything. It's like a brick. You can't do anything with it because you can't upgrade. You can't upgrade the components like you can with a computer and everything. Apple is just very, they say it's user friendly, but that's just an easy way of saying we're not going to let you do anything. We've made it so simple to the point that we just won't let you mess anything up if you want to. And that, I feel like, has been Apple's mentality for all these years. So, I mean, what do they all do right? What do they do wrong? Let's start with Microsoft. What does Microsoft do right? Well, I think they're doing a great job with Windows. I actually really like Windows 10. To be honest, I didn't mind Windows 8 either. They've all been pretty good over the years. I believe Vista was probably my least favorite, but I came in late to the game on Windows 8 though, so they kind of fixed a lot of things, I think, there. But I was early adopter for Windows 10. Pretty much when I was able to get it, I got it. I mean, I like Windows 10. I think Microsoft does operating systems well for the most part. And if there's anything they do wrong, I think it's their video game division, honestly. But I haven't really got a chance to dabble in their phones. I have a friend who has one of their phones, and he likes it. I'm sure I would probably like it okay. It's just I know it's not very popular, so it's not going to have a lot of the apps and things that Android would. So, I don't have a whole lot of bad stuff to say about Microsoft when it comes to computers. I think they do a pretty good job overall. Google, I mean, I pretty much have only good things to say about Google. I think they're probably one of the best companies on the planet. I mean, they give stuff away for free. They do all this technology advancement and stuff like that. I don't even know if there's anything I can say negative about Google because they literally are one of my favorite companies. And I mean, every time they do something, it's like golden. I mean, to me, I can't think of really a negative thing to say. Now, I'm going to try really hard to say something positive about Apple, but mostly it's going to be negative. Apple, what do they do right? Well, I mean, first of all, they sort of pioneered, in a way, the current phone situation as far as having smartphones. They sort of pioneered that in a way, but I think in recent years they've sort of downward spiraled, probably after Steve Jobs, passed away. They've been struggling to innovate in a sense. Sorry if this segue is a little odd here. I had to cut quickly for something, but as far as, again, what Apple does right or wrong, I mean, I could just list so many things I think they do wrong. The restrictions and things and whatever, as far as doing anything right. I mean, they have some benefits with the iTunes stuff because they've gained this creepy, or I think odd, popularity. They get a lot of the apps and things. They push themselves as a premium sort of a thing, which really they're not any more premium. They just make their stuff look shiny and slap a giant price tag on it and call it user-friendly. I mean, that's what Apple does. For the same price, you could get something far better on PC. Pretty much, you probably can get far better on like Android too, like a phone or whatever, for paying the same prices as iPhones and things. They're ridiculously overpriced. I want to quickly touch on graphic design myths. People say, well, Apple, that's what you design on, graphic design, all that kind of stuff. That's a myth. They say, oh, the monitors are better. First of all, even if the monitors are better, that's irrelevant to the design, because in the end, a monitor is not what you're going to view it on. You're going to view it on something else, whether it's paper or, you know, some other monitor or whatever. If it's video editing and things, the monitors are relevant. They basically say the power in an Apple is better and stuff for graphic design. False again. It goes back to what I said. Apples are pushed as a premium computer, and you do get premium parts in them. You're paying a higher price for an Apple. You can get a dirt cheap computer, a Windows computer, for next to nothing, and it's going to run programs poorly. But if you pay the same amount for a Windows computer as you would for some high-end Mac, you're going to get a better Windows computer than that Mac is. It's going to outperform that Mac across the board because you're going to be able to get much better components. You're just paying a premium price for pretty good components in an Apple. So the graphic design myth, that's a myth. It's, that's pretty much just busted right there. There's no way that a Mac or Apple, whatever, can do a better job than a PC can. So, and that's sort of what I coming out here as pretty versus practical. You want pretty, you don't want to have control over your stuff, go with Apple products. That's fine if that's what you want to do. I like to have control. I like to build my own computers. I like to be able to alter things if I need to, upgrade things. I like to have better components for essentially cheaper prices. I mean, I can build a far better computer than any Mac is going to be for cheaper price. So, yeah, this kind of probably became an Apple bashing session, but honestly, I really loathe that company. And some people might say, why do you hate a company so much? I just do. I think everything they've done throughout their history has been terrible. I think they trick people into buying their products and falsely advertise them from what they really are. So that's my opinion when we're talking Microsoft versus Google versus Apple. Google gets my win for what I overall think is a great company. Microsoft is a close second, and Apple is a very, very distant third. I'm sure I would love Linux better than it. I would pretty much love anything better than Apple. So take of it as you will. You want to refute any of my stuff, leave it in the comments below. Tell me your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube or, SoundCloud, whatever you're listening on. My website, just stay up to date, and like my Facebook. That's where you're going to get most of the updates. And if you're on YouTube, keep YouTubing it up. If you're listening somewhere else to this podcast, then I will talk to you next time. Bye.